If you look at the history of the game, every decade's different. The game changes. They always try to compare players now to back in the 80s and 70s, and which you cannot do. It's a whole different ball game.
That's flagrantly disrespectful to the old guard. Larry Bird wasn't skilled.
Too magic.
Isaiah Thomas was one of the greatest skilled guards in the history of basketball.
Artis Gilmore told me one time, he played for Chicago, he said, if you expect to play a long time in this league, you better quit mopping up the floor. And I thought, well, he's crazy, because that's what basketball is all about.
Anthony Edwards has ignited a major debate across the basketball world after making a bold statement about the NBA's past. The Timberwolves star claimed that, aside from Michael Jordan, players from the 1980s did not possess the level of skill seen in today's game, a remark many viewed as a direct challenge to legends like Larry Bird, Magic Johnson, and Isaiah Thomas. His comments spread quickly, drawing sharp criticism from former NBA stars who called the opinion disrespectful to the generation that helped build the league into a global powerhouse. As the backlash grew, many pointed to Larry Bird's legendary career, highlighting his unmatched confidence, elite basketball IQ, and the countless stories from opponents who experienced his greatness firsthand. To many fans and former players, Edwards' remarks were more than just a controversial opinion. They ranked among the boldest claims a young NBA star has ever made about basketball's earlier eras. Yet the discussion becomes even more compelling when Bird's unforgettable performance against the Phoenix Suns enters the conversation, a game that continues to define his legacy and reminds everyone why his skill has never been questioned. Before diving into that incredible story, here's the exact quote from Anthony Edwards that sparked the entire debate.
Didn't watch it back in the day, so I can't speak on it. They say it was tougher back then than it is now, but I don't think anybody had skill back then. Michael Jordan was the only one that really had skill, you know what I mean? So that's why when they saw Kobe, they were like, oh my God, but now everybody has skill.
Edwards claimed that nobody had skill instantly sent shockwaves through the NBA community. With just a few words, he appeared to dismiss the accomplishments of some of basketball's greatest legends. That included Larry Bird, a three-time NBA champion and three-time consecutive MVP, whose remarkable career has long been celebrated as one of the best in league history. His comments also seemed to overlook Magic Johnson, the revolutionary 6'9" point guard who transformed the position while leading his team to 5 NBA titles, as well as Isaiah Thomas, widely regarded as one of the most gifted ball handlers the game has ever seen. What made the statement even more controversial was Edwards' own admission that he had never really watched players from that era before forming his opinion. For many fans, analysts, and former players, dismissing an entire generation of Hall of Famers without studying their careers crossed a line. That revelation quickly fueled the debate, and the backlash from around the basketball world was both swift and intense.
That's flagrantly disrespectful to the old guard. Larry Bird wasn't skilled.
Too magic.
Isaiah Thomas was one of the greatest skilled guards in the history of basketball. Magic Johnson was 6'9", a 6'9" point guard. We had never seen anything like it.
The criticism didn't stop there. Another powerful response came from someone who had actually competed against Larry Bird and witnessed his greatness firsthand over many seasons. Their perspective added a level of credibility that made the debate even more compelling and placed Bird in a conversation Anthony Edwards may not have fully considered. According to that former player, the two greatest basketball talents he had ever seen were Michael Jordan and Larry Bird, with Bird ranking just behind Jordan and ahead of icons such as LeBron James, Kobe Bryant, and Magic Johnson. That opinion directly challenged Edwards' belief that Jordan was the only truly skilled player from that era. For those who watched Bird dominate in real time, his combination of shooting, passing, court vision, basketball IQ, and competitiveness made him one of the most complete players the game has ever produced. Many believe those abilities wouldn't simply translate to today's NBA. They would allow Bird to thrive and dominate in the modern game just as he did during his own era.
Best basketball players I've ever seen in my life. Michael Jordan and then Larry Bird, and I think it's very, very...
Larry Bird didn't just compete in three-point contests. He made them his own, winning every NBA three-point contest he entered. Combined with his outstanding free-throw shooting and deadly mid-range accuracy, he proved he could score from virtually anywhere on the floor. Many basketball experts believe that if Bird had played in today's NBA, where the three-point shot is a central part of every offense, his scoring numbers would have reached extraordinary levels. That's not simply nostalgia or former players defending their generation. It's a reflection of how well Bird's unique skill set fits the modern game. His elite shooting, court vision, basketball IQ, and versatility suggest he could have been one of today's most dominant offensive stars. While Anthony Edwards argued that today's players possess more skill, many believe Bird would have outperformed plenty of them. What makes the discussion even more fascinating is that Bird always understood exactly how talented he was. Before one famous three-point contest, while the other competitors quietly prepared, Bird casually entered the locker room and asked who was going to finish second because he already expected to win. It sounded unbelievably confident, but he consistently backed up every word with his performances. That wasn't empty trash talk or manufactured swagger. It was the confidence of a player whose preparation and ability gave him every reason to believe he would come out on top. When Bird later explained that mindset, it highlighted a mentality that many believe separated him from countless players, both in his era and today.
If the three-point shot was what it is today, back in the 80s, Bird would have scored 50 a game. He won every three-point shooting contest he ever was involved in. He made every mid-ranger in the world, and he was a 90% free throw shooter. I don't recall ever a big shot in a big game that he ever...
Larry Bird's confidence wasn't built on talk. It came from countless hours of hard work. He spent endless time alone in the gym with no cameras, no fans, and no attention, just working to perfect his game. That kind of dedication creates a different level of belief. When Bird stepped onto the court, he knew he was ready because he had already put in the work that nobody else saw.
Well, it wasn't a big deal. It's just that it's a very somber locker room. Pretty quiet. Guys, a little nervous. A lot of the guys that was in the competition, great shooters, but they were bench players. I said it just to break the ice, but I didn't think it would ever leak out of there. But truthfully, I meant it. I mean, I knew I was probably going to win the contest.
Bird once explained that his confidence came from spending countless hours practicing alone. He believed no one had worked harder than he had, and that dedication gave him skills others simply didn't possess. His confidence wasn't for show, it was earned through preparation. That's why, when game time arrived, Bird could tell opponents exactly what he was about to do and still back it up. That mindset leads to one of the most famous stories of his career, recalled by his teammate and Hall of Famer Kevin McHale during a game against the Phoenix Suns.
Well, my confidence came from me shooting basketball by myself for hours upon hours. I mean, I put my time in, so I knew I put more time in than anybody else, and I had skills that other people didn't.
During a game against the Phoenix Suns, Larry Bird looked at the opposing bench and predicted he would steal the ball, hit a three-pointer, and head home. Moments later, he did exactly that before turning to the bench with a simple, "I told you so." While everyone else was still focused on the game, Bird had already acted like the job was finished. That was the kind of confidence and control he played with. Yet Anthony Edwards labeled him as unskilled. Bird wasn't just making shots, he was calling his own plays before they happened and delivering every time. And his greatness went far beyond shooting, as Dominique Wilkins discovered during their very first matchup.
Larry walks by the bench, and he tells the Phoenix bench, he said, "Nah, I'm fixing to jump out here, bust this play, and knock a three down on you and go home." Shoots it. As he lets it go, he looks at the bench and said, "Told you so," and starts running to the locker room. And by the time I got in there, he had already popped a beer. He had a beer in his...
Dominique Wilkins entered the matchup as one of the most athletic and explosive players the NBA had ever seen, ready to challenge Larry Bird from the opening tip. Bird immediately responded by knocking down a three-pointer right in front of him and making sure Wilkins knew about it. But Wilkins answered back with a powerful dunk that sent Bird crashing to the floor. For most players, that moment would have changed the energy of the game. Not Bird. He got back up smiling, told the young star he liked his game, and confidently said he was going to score 30 points. Instead, Bird went even further and finished with 38. That was the kind of belief he had in himself. Getting knocked down never changed his mindset because he already believed he knew how the story would end. What makes it even more interesting is how Bird viewed different generations of basketball, and his perspective was very different from the way many players compare eras today.
First play of the game, he says, "I don't know where they got you guarding me, Holmes." And he shoots a three. I dunked it on him. He laying on the ground. He fouled me, and I'm pointing. He said, "I like you. You got," he said, "you got balls, but I'm still going to get 30 on your ass." You know, he got about 30.
Larry Bird always believed that every era of basketball had its own identity, and he made it clear that comparing generations is not that simple. Even after winning championships, MVP awards, and reaching the highest level of the sport, Bird still respected how the game continued to change and develop. He never judged players he had not watched closely or competed against. That made his approach very different from Anthony Edwards, who made a broad statement about an entire generation while admitting he had not fully studied those players. The contrast between their views became a major part of the debate, and the strongest response came from someone who had no problem speaking his mind.
If you look at the history of the game, every decade's different. The game changes. They always try to compare players now to back in the 80s and 70s, and which you cannot do. It's a whole different ballgame.
Anthony Edwards has yet to win an NBA championship, and he has no college title or major basketball legacy at that level. Larry Bird, on the other hand, built a career filled with achievements, including 3 NBA championships and 3 consecutive MVP awards, earning his place among the greatest players in basketball history. That is why many found it surprising that Bird was labeled unskilled by someone who admitted he never truly watched him play. The difference between their resumes and experiences became a major talking point. But this story goes beyond trophies and statistics. Bird's greatness was also defined by his toughness. Throughout his career, he battled serious back problems that were so painful he sometimes had to lie flat before games just to prepare himself to compete. That level of commitment was far beyond ordinary. When another player warned him that playing through such pain could shorten his career, Bird's response revealed exactly what kind of competitor he was.
I don't never respond to a guy that's never won a championship. He didn't win a college championship. I don't know if he even won a high school championship.
Bird's competitive spirit was unmatched. He chased every loose ball, hit the floor without hesitation, and played every night as if nothing mattered more than winning. When people told him to slow down, Bird made it clear that playing any other way was not the game he loved. That relentless style eventually took a heavy toll on his body, with his back problems forcing him to retire earlier than expected. By the end of his career, even simple movements became difficult, yet Bird still said he would not change anything. Protecting himself was never part of his approach. He gave everything he had every time he stepped on the court, showing a level of sacrifice few players could match. That is why the debate around Edwards' comments goes beyond statistics and highlights. It is about respecting the legends who built the foundation of the game. Bird dedicated his life to basketball, endured pain that would stop most athletes, and continued performing at an elite level. His skills came from years of hard work, and the players who competed against him understood his greatness, placing him alongside Michael Jordan as one of the closest comparisons in basketball history. Anthony Edwards said players from that era lacked skill, but Larry Bird's career tells a completely different story. He won every three-point contest he entered, predicted his moves before making them, and consistently delivered when the pressure was at its highest. He scored 38 points against a Hall of Famer after being knocked down and built his greatness through countless hours of work away from the spotlight. The players who actually competed against Bird placed him among the very best, right alongside Michael Jordan. So the question remains, if that is not skill, then what truly defines it? Perhaps if Edwards watches Bird's career closely, he may see the game in a different way. Because the same player he called unskilled is someone many believe could dominate in any era. If you think Larry Bird deserves more recognition, support the conversation and share your thoughts. If you believe Edwards had a fair point, let us know your opinion. Share this with other basketball fans and stay tuned for more deep dives into the stories that shape the game.